I should have known better than to hire a black driver. Victoria Bradford poured her coffee over Lucas Turner's head. Hot liquid ran down his face and soaked his white uniform. He didn't move, didn't speak. Pathetic, she said, dropping the cup at his feet. Pick that up. 6:43 in the morning, underground parking garage at Global Tech Ventures. A white CEO stood over her black driver, watching him bend down to pick up her empty cup. Get in the car and remember something. You're lucky to make what you make. A black man like you, your people are still living in filthy slums. I can smell them from here, so don't ever make me wait again. Lucas opened the back door without a word. What Victoria didn't know was that she'd just humiliated the only person who could save her billion-dollar deal. Have you ever seen someone treated like garbage? Keep watching. What happens next will change everything. 7:15 in the morning. Lucas was driving Victoria to her first meeting. The Mercedes moved through traffic while she sat in the back seat with her phone on speaker. She didn't use headphones. She didn't care if he heard. To her, he wasn't even there. Victoria, we have a catastrophic situation. Stephen Cooper, her head of international relations. He sounded panicked. Victoria sat up. What situation? Yamamoto's translator tested positive for COVID. His backup was in a car accident last night. The signing is in 4 hours. Lucas kept his eyes on the road, but he heard everything. Find another translator, Victoria said. Call our contacts. I've called everyone, every translation service in the city. They're booked or they can't guarantee all 3 languages. What 3 languages? Yamamoto refuses random translators. He needs someone who speaks Japanese, Arabic, and French. Someone who can handle negotiations between him, the Saudi investors, and the French regulatory consultant. Victoria leaned forward. Stephen, this deal took 18 months. We spent $4 million in due diligence. I know. Then fix it. There's no one available. Not with all 3 languages. Not in 4 hours. Even if we could fly someone in, Yamamoto won't accept it. He's very particular about cultural protocols. Victoria's hand tightened on her phone. Lucas watched her face in the rearview mirror. She looked scared. If Yamamoto pulls out, Stephen said, we lose everything. The Japanese deal, the Saudi capital, the French approval, everything collapses. How many jobs? Victoria asked quietly. 140, and the board is already questioning you after last quarter. Silence in the car. Lucas's hand tightened on the wheel. He spoke all 3 languages fluently. He'd studied Japanese cultural protocols for years. He understood formal Arabic and business French, but he said nothing. At his last job, when he'd offered expertise, they laughed. The manager said, "Stay in your lane, driver." Lucas looked in the mirror at Victoria's face. He could fix this. But would he? 7:31, red light. Victoria's phone rang. She answered immediately. Yamamoto-san? A man's voice came through the speaker. He was speaking Japanese, rapidly. His tone sounded upset. Victoria's face went pale. She didn't understand a word. Yamamoto-san, I'm so sorry, Can you speak English, please? The man continued in Japanese. His voice grew more agitated. Victoria looked helpless. I'm sorry, I can't. Lucas muttered something under his breath, quietly, in Japanese. Shinpai shinaide kudasai. Please don't worry. Victoria's head snapped toward the front seat. What did you just say? Lucas's eyes stayed on the road. The light turned green. He drove forward. Do you speak Japanese? Victoria's voice was sharp. I understand some. Some? What is he saying? Lucas hesitated, then spoke carefully. He's saying his daughter is in the hospital, nothing serious, but he's emotionally distracted. He's apologizing for the translator situation because he knows it puts you in a difficult position. He said he holds you in high regard. The car went completely silent. Victoria stared at the back of Lucas's head. How much Japanese do you actually speak? I'm fluent. Fluent. Yes, ma'am. Also in Arabic, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, and Korean. Victoria's mouth opened slightly. No sound came out. You're a driver, she finally said. Who speaks 9 languages? Yes, ma'am. Where did you learn this? Lucas kept driving. His voice stayed calm and professional. I was in a PhD program at Georgetown, linguistics and international relations. Life happened. My mother got sick. Medical debt. I needed income faster than academia provides. This job has good insurance and flexible hours for her care. Victoria sat back in her seat. For the first time all morning, she stopped looking at her phone. She stopped typing. She just sat there, processing. In the rearview mirror, their eyes met. Really met. For the first time in 9 months of daily drives. Victoria opened her mouth to speak, then closed it. She looked at her phone, at the mounting crisis with Yamamoto, at the $1 billion about to disappear. Pride fought with desperation on her face. She made a call. "Thomas, it's Victoria." Thomas Hensley, her chief operating officer. "I need your advice on something," she said slowly. "The Yamamoto situation. Stephen can't find a translator with all 3 languages. I know, he just called me. We're in serious trouble." Victoria paused. "My driver says he speaks the languages we need." "Your driver?" "Yes. Then use him." Thomas said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Victoria, who cares what his job title is? If he can solve the problem, use him." "But Thomas, he's not certified. He's not vetted. He's available and we're out of options. What's his background?" Victoria looked at Lucas. "Georgetown PhD program. Linguistics." "Then what's the problem?" She didn't answer. "Victoria," Thomas said firmly, "I've watched this company pass over talented people for years because they didn't look the way we expected, because they didn't have the right title on their business card. Is that what you're doing right now?" Victoria's jaw tightened. "If this man can save our deal," Thomas continued, "and you let it fail because of pride, that's on you." She hung up. The car was silent for 3 blocks. Finally, Victoria spoke. Her voice was different, smaller. "Lucas, can you really do this? Can you navigate cultural dynamics between Japanese formality, Arab honor-based communication, and French directness?" Lucas met her eyes in the mirror. "I won't just translate words, Miss Bradford. I'll translate intent, respect, and relationship. That's what my research focused on, language as a bridge between cultures." Victoria looked at him for a long moment. "You have 3 hours," she said quietly. "Don't make me regret this." For the first time that morning, Lucas allowed himself the smallest hint of a smile. 3 hours to prove that 3 years in a driver's seat hadn't erased 4 years of graduate training. He could do this. While Lucas drove Victoria toward the office building, his entire life story played through his mind like an old film. His mother was a Haitian immigrant. She came to America when she was only 19 years old with absolutely nothing. She worked 3 brutal jobs just to keep them alive. She cleaned wealthy people's houses during the morning hours. She waited tables at restaurants every single night. She watched other people's children all weekend long. She taught Lucas French and Creole before he ever learned to write his name in English. His father left when Lucas was 8 years old, just walked out one day, never came back. Growing up in a rough neighborhood, languages became Lucas's superpower. He could speak Korean fluently with the store owners, Spanish with the Mexican neighbors, Arabic with the cab drivers. It made him different. It made him valuable. His teachers noticed his unusual gift immediately. "This kid is truly special," they told his mother. He earned a full scholarship to Georgetown University. His mother cried for hours when the acceptance letter arrived. She framed it and hung it on their tiny apartment wall. His thesis topic was Language as Economic Bridge in Global Development. He wanted to work for the State Department, or perhaps the United Nations. He dreamed of helping entire countries understand each other. He was only months from finishing his PhD when everything fell apart completely. His mother got diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. She had no insurance. The treatments weren't covered. Experimental medications cost thousands every month. Medical debt climbed to $340,000. Finish his dissertation or save his mother. He chose her. He left Georgetown in his 4th year, took the first stable job with benefits, executive driver, health insurance, flexible hours for appointments, 3.5 years ago. His mother was in remission. Care continued. Debt was down to $180,000. He studied every night, added Korean recently. His colleagues didn't know what happened. He was too ashamed. Every day, Lucas drove wealthy people to meetings where they made decisions worth more than he'd earn in 5 years. Every day they looked through him. In his glove compartment was a worn notebook, phrases in 9 languages, his mother's handwriting, "Use your gift." Lucas thought he'd wasted it. Maybe today would change that. 8:45 in the morning. Victoria's office at Global Tech Ventures. For the first time in 9 months, Victoria invited Lucas upstairs. He walked into the conference room still wearing his coffee-stained uniform. 12 executives sat around the table. All of them stared. Someone whispered just loud enough. "That's the driver." Lucas stood near the door. Professional. Silent. Waiting. Victoria cleared her throat. "Yamamoto-san will call in 5 minutes. Lucas, I need you to listen and tell me what he's really saying. Not just his words, his tone, his concerns, his hesitations." She paused and looked at him directly. "If Yamamoto pulls out of this deal, Global Tech loses all credibility with Asian investors. 140 jobs disappear. My board is already questioning my leadership. Do you understand what's at stake?" "Yes, ma'am," Lucas said. The video call connected. Yamamoto's face appeared on the screen. He was in his 60s, distinguished, clearly stressed. He spoke in Japanese for 90 seconds straight. Victoria watched Lucas's face the entire time. Lucas nodded occasionally, made mental notes. When Yamamoto finished, Lucas responded briefly in Japanese. Then he turned to Victoria. "He says he's still committed to the deal, but there's something important underneath his words. He's worried about cultural sensitivity with the Arabic-speaking partners. Last month, there was an incident where a Saudi businessman felt disrespected by an interpreter who used too casual a register. Yamamoto-san is asking if we can guarantee someone who understands not just words, but cultural protocols." The conference room went completely silent. Thomas Hensley, the chief operating officer, leaned forward. "That level of nuance isn't in any of our briefing documents. How did you catch that?" Lucas kept his voice calm. He used a specific phrase, kuki wo yomu. It's a Japanese concept about reading the air, about social awareness. He's not just asking for translation accuracy. He's asking for cultural fluency. Victoria studied Lucas carefully. "Can you do that? Can you navigate the cultural dynamics between Japanese formality, Arab honor-based communication, and French directness?" Lucas met her eyes. "I've studied all 3 cultures extensively. I won't just translate words, Miss Bradford. I'll translate intent. I'll translate respect. I'll translate relationship. That's what my research focused on for 4 years." Victoria looked at Thomas. Thomas nodded once. "You have 3 hours," Victoria said slowly. "Study the briefing packet. Learn the participants. Don't make me regret this decision." An assistant brought Lucas the 43-page briefing document. Another assistant brought coffee. The assistant wouldn't make eye contact with him. Lucas sat down at the far end of the conference table. He opened the document. The smell of fresh paper, the weight of the moment. He started reading, annotating in 3 different languages simultaneously. Around him, executives whispered. Some left the room. He heard fragments of conversations through the door. "This is insane! She's betting everything on the driver. If this fails, she's done." Lucas kept reading. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Use your gift. 3 hours to prove that 3 years in a driver's seat hadn't erased 4 years of graduate training. 3 hours to show them what they'd been looking at but never seeing." He could do this. 9:30 in the morning. While Lucas studied in the conference room, Victoria gathered her executive team in her private office. Jennifer Marks, the general counsel, spoke first. "Victoria, with all due respect, we're betting a $1 billion deal on your driver. What if he makes a mistake? What's his liability insurance? Does he even have a security clearance?" Stephen Cooper, head of international relations, added his concern. "I've worked with UN-certified translators. They go through years of training and professional vetting. This feels incredibly reckless." The room buzzed with uncomfortable agreement. Arms crossed, worried glances exchanged. Someone said it loud enough for everyone to hear. "What's next? Letting the janitor do our accounting?" Nervous laughter rippled through the office. Lucas heard it from the adjacent room where he was studying. The walls weren't thick enough. Thomas Hensley stood up. His voice cut through the room. "I've watched this company pass over talented people for 20 years because they didn't fit our image of what qualified looks like. Lucas has more education in this specific field than anyone in this room. The only difference is he's had to make harder choices because life isn't fair to everyone." Jennifer pushed back. "But Thomas, he's completely unproven in high-stakes situations." "Then let's test him right now," Thomas said firmly. He pulled out his laptop. Within minutes, he had 3 separate video calls running simultaneously. A Japanese business partner discussing contract clauses, an Arabic-speaking lawyer reviewing liability terms, a French regulatory expert explaining compliance issues. Thomas called Lucas into the room. Switch between all three conversations, real time. Summarize the complex legal and financial concepts. Show us what you can actually do. Lucas stood in front of the screen. Sweat formed on his temple. This wasn't just translation, this was performance under intense pressure. The Japanese partner spoke first. Complex keigo, honorific language with multiple subtle levels. Lucas responded fluently. He caught a subtle disagreement about payment timing that wasn't explicitly stated. Switch to Arabic. The lawyer was using formal classical Arabic mixed with Lebanese dialect. Lucas adapted immediately, summarized the liability concerns in clear English for Victoria, switched to French. The regulatory expert was being very diplomatic about a compliance issue. Lucas listened carefully. Then he turned to Victoria privately. He's not talking about compliance. He's indicating someone needs to be paid off. It's a bribe request disguised as regulatory language. Victoria's eyes widened. Back to Japanese, back to Arabic, back to French. Lucas moved between languages like he was conducting a complex orchestra. His eyes were laser-focused. His hand unconsciously tapped linguistic rhythm patterns on his leg. The room gradually went silent. The skepticism slowly transformed into something else. Respect. Reluctant, but undeniably real. When the calls ended, Jennifer Marks spoke quietly. "Where exactly did you study?" "Georgetown," Lucas said. "I didn't finish." She paused. "I finished Georgetown Law in 2015. You're better than half the professional interpreters I've worked with at international tribunals." But someone still muttered under their breath. "Still seems risky to me." Victoria remained silent, calculating, watching. Lucas walked back to the conference room to continue studying. He'd proven he could do the job technically, but proving it wasn't the same as being truly accepted. Not yet. 12 o'clock, the Jefferson Hotel, private dining room. The signing ceremony was beginning. Hiroshi Yamamoto arrived with 2 Japanese executives. Khalid Al-Mansour entered with his Saudi legal team. Pierre Dubois, the French regulatory consultant, was already seated. Victoria, Thomas, and the global tech team took their positions around the mahogany table. Lucas stood near the door. Victoria introduced him simply as our linguistic consultant. No mention of his regular job. Yamamoto entered the room and bowed respectfully. Before Victoria could speak, Lucas stepped forward. He bowed at exactly 30 degrees. The precise angle appropriate for business equals in Japanese culture. He spoke in Japanese with a subtle Kansai accent. "Yamamoto-san, we heard about your daughter's situation. We hope she's recovering well. Your family is in our thoughts." Yamamoto's entire face transformed. Surprise first, then genuine warmth spreading across his features. He responded emotionally in Japanese. Lucas translated for the room. He says thank you, and that this level of personal care shows Global Tech's true character. Victoria hadn't expected this opening. It wasn't in any script or briefing. 20 minutes later, Al-Mansour arrived late. He was clearly agitated about something. He spoke rapid, frustrated Arabic to his team. The entire room tensed immediately. Lucas listened carefully. Then he leaned toward Victoria and whispered quietly. "He's upset because the hotel served food on the left side. In his culture, that's considered insensitive. He sees it as a bad omen for the deal." Victoria whispered back urgently. "What should I do?" "Let me handle it," Lucas said calmly. He approached Al-Mansour directly, spoke in formal Arabic, explained it was an American cultural misunderstanding, not intentional disrespect, quoted a relevant Arabic proverb about patience and wisdom, asked the hotel staff politely to reset the table properly. Al-Mansour's shoulders visibly relaxed. He shook Lucas's hand firmly, said something in Arabic with a slight smile. Lucas translated. "He says I speak like a son of Riyadh. He's asking where I learned his culture's ways." The room felt different now, warmer, more trusting. Then came the real test, a contract clause about intellectual property rights. Japanese wanted collective ownership language. Saudi investors wanted clear profit guarantees. French regulations required specific liability terms. 3 people, 3 languages, all speaking at once. Lucas moved to create a triangle at the table. He physically positioned himself between all 3 parties. To Yamamoto in Japanese, he explained Saudi concerns through the lens of honor and partnership. To Al-Mansour in Arabic, he framed the Japanese approach through their cultural value of group harmony. To Pierre, in French, he clarified how both perspectives could meet strict legal requirements. His hand gestures changed for each culture. His voice tone modulated carefully. Softer for Japanese, more assertive for Arabic. Precise and direct for French. 20 minutes, 3 languages, 1 solution. All 3 men nodded in agreement. Pierre Dubois spoke in English to the room. I've worked international deals for 30 years. I have never, ever seen anyone bridge cultures like that. Lucas caught Victoria's eye across the table. She was staring at him like she'd never actually seen him before today. Maybe she hadn't. 1:45 in the afternoon. Brief break in negotiations. Thomas pulled Lucas aside to the outdoor terrace. The city stretched below them. Traffic sounds drifted up from the streets. I need to tell you something, Thomas said, leaning against the railing. 20 years ago, I was the unqualified person in the room. Wrong school, wrong background, wrong accent, wrong side of town. Someone gave me a chance anyway. It changed my entire life. Lucas looked at him, waiting. Why are you telling me this? Lucas finally asked. Because I see what you are, Thomas said firmly. And I see what Victoria and this company almost missed, almost threw away because of assumptions and prejudice. They walked back inside together. The negotiation room was full again. All parties assembled. Thomas stood and addressed everyone. Lucas translated his words sequentially into Japanese, Arabic, and French so everyone could understand. I want to acknowledge someone, Thomas began. Lucas Turner is not just facilitating our communication today. 4 hours ago, he was driving our CEO to her morning meeting. She had absolutely no idea that the person behind the wheel had more expertise in this exact situation than anyone we could have possibly hired. The room went completely silent. Every eye turned to Lucas. Thomas continued with conviction. This deal is happening because Lucas chose to speak up despite knowing he might be dismissed or mocked. That takes real courage, and it's a powerful reminder that talent doesn't always come with the title we expect or the resume we recognize. Yamamoto responded in Japanese. Lucas translated his words. In Japan, we have a concept we call mottainai. It means the tragedy of waste. To waste talent is to waste the future itself. Today, we almost wasted Turner-san's precious gift. Al-Mansur spoke next in Arabic. Lucas translated carefully. In our tradition, we say this. The true noble is the one who serves others and the one who has wisdom to recognize that service. Today, I see both kinds of nobility in this room. Victoria had been silent throughout this exchange, just listening, watching everyone's faces. Now she spoke. Her voice was different than this morning, quieter, more vulnerable, more genuine. Lucas, I owe you an apology, she said, looking directly at him. Not just for today. For every single day I treated you as invisible. For every time I looked through you instead of at you. That ends right now. The room broke into spontaneous applause, brief but dignified, sincere. Lucas didn't smile broadly. He remained professional and composed. He gave a single, respectful nod of acknowledgement to the room, but his eyes couldn't hide the emotion breaking through the surface. Something fundamental had shifted in that room. Not everything. The world hadn't completely changed, but something important had moved. Recognition doesn't erase years of being overlooked and dismissed. But it's a beginning. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Another brief break between negotiation sessions. Yamamoto approached Lucas privately in the corner of the room, away from the formal business atmosphere, away from the other executives and lawyers. He spoke quietly in Japanese. May I ask you something personal, Turner-san? Of course, Lucas responded in the same language. Why did you leave your studies at Georgetown University? You clearly had an extraordinary future ahead of you in linguistics. Lucas hesitated for just a moment. Then he pulled out his phone and opened his photos. He showed Yamamoto a picture. His mother, smiling brightly at her recent birthday, wearing a colorful headscarf, still recovering from years of chemotherapy treatments. My mother, Lucas said softly in Japanese. She gave absolutely everything she had for me. Everything. When she got sick with stage 3 cancer, it was my turn to give everything for her. In my culture, we have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. But sometimes, when life gets hard, the village is just you. Just one person carrying everything. Yamamoto's entire expression softened with understanding. He pulled out his own phone, showed Lucas a photo of his daughter lying in a hospital bed. The photo was clearly from earlier that same day. "This is exactly why I almost canceled today's signing ceremony," Yamamoto said quietly. "Family is not separate from business, Turner-san. Family is exactly why we do business at all. Two men from completely different cultures, different continents, different languages, but sharing the same fundamental values deep in their hearts." They stood together in silence for a long moment. The weight of shared understanding passed between them without needing words. Yamamoto placed his hand firmly on Lucas's shoulder, a gesture of respect and connection. "When this deal closes successfully, I have a proposition for you," he said with genuine warmth in his voice. "Yamamoto Industries has been expanding internationally. We desperately need someone who understands both language and heart, both culture and genuine character. Would you be interested?" Lucas was genuinely stunned. His mind raced. "In what capacity?" "Director of International Relations for our global operations. You would be based in Tokyo, but traveling worldwide regularly. The annual salary would be $280,000, plus comprehensive benefits." Lucas couldn't speak for a moment. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd sacrificed his PhD dreams for, being offered to him in a single conversation. "Can I have time to think about it?" Lucas asked carefully. "My mother's medical care is all established here in America." "Of course you need time," Yamamoto interrupted gently. "But I want you to know something. We have excellent medical facilities in Tokyo, among the very best in the entire world, and your mother would be completely welcome to join you there. Family is not an obstacle to this opportunity. Family is the entire point." Lucas's hand moved unconsciously to his jacket pocket. He touched the worn notebook his mother had given him, the one with her handwriting in the margins. "Use your gift." Maybe he finally was. 3:30 in the afternoon, 30 minutes before the final signing ceremony. Pierre Dubois, the French regulatory consultant, received an urgent phone call. His face went completely pale. He spoke rapidly in French, his voice rising with each word, then hung up abruptly. "We have a serious problem," he announced to the entire room. Everyone stopped talking mid-sentence. "The European Regulatory Board has last-minute concerns," Pierre said, his accent thickening with stress. "Their new compliance officer is on video call right now. He needs immediate clarification or he will delay approval for 6 months minimum." Victoria stood up quickly. 6 months? That kills the entire deal structure." "I know," Pierre said grimly, "and there's another problem. He speaks only German. He absolutely refuses to conduct this call in English or French." The room went completely silent. You could hear people breathing. Without EU approval, the entire deal structure would collapse like dominoes. Yamamoto would walk away. Al-Mansour would withdraw all Saudi capital. French regulatory approval would vanish. 2 years of work. Millions of dollars. Gone. Victoria turned to Lucas. Her voice was desperate in a way he'd never heard. "Please tell me you actually speak German fluently." "I do," Lucas said carefully. "But I've never dealt with EU regulatory language before. It's highly technical legal terminology." Thomas spoke firmly from across the room. "You've got this. We trust you completely." The large video screen flickered to life. A stern German official appeared. Dr. Klaus Schneider, probably in his 60s, wire-rimmed glasses, gray hair, zero warmth in his expression. He looked like someone who'd spent 40 years saying no to people. 8 people in the room watched Lucas. No one else spoke German at the level this conversation required. Dr. Schneider launched immediately into rapid, unforgiving German. Complex technical questions about cross-border data privacy compliance, liability frameworks across 3 different jurisdictions, anti-money laundering protocols, intellectual property treaty alignments. Lucas had to simultaneously understand technical German legal terminology, consult with Victoria and Thomas in English, translate concerns to Japanese for Yamamoto, translate to Arabic for Al-Mansour, and find solutions that satisfied all 4 parties. Sweat appeared on Lucas's forehead. He loosened his tie slightly. His coffee cup trembled when he picked it up. Victoria watched with her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Dr. Schneider asked a dense technical question about data servers in German. Lucas turned to Victoria, spoke quickly in English. He's concerned about where user data will be physically stored. EU law requires— Victoria interrupted impatiently. I know EU law. Tell him Frankfurt servers, fully encrypted, mandatory third-party audit. Lucas switched back to German instantly, delivered the technical response with precision. Dr. Schneider fired back another complex question immediately. No pause, no mercy. Lucas turned to Yamamoto, spoke in Japanese. He needs confirmation that your manufacturing data won't cross EU borders without explicit consent protocols in place. Yamamoto responded carefully in Japanese, asking clarifying questions. Lucas turned to Al-Mansur, spoke in Arabic. The Japanese side agrees in principle, but the Saudi investment structure might be affected by these restrictions. Can you— Al-Mansur responded in rapid Arabic. He sounded agitated about potential profit implications. 4 conversations happening simultaneously in real time, managing Dr. Schneider's German precision and bureaucratic rigidity, Victoria's business urgency in English, Yamamoto's cultural sensitivities in Japanese, Al-Mansur's financial concerns in Arabic. Lucas was conducting a complex orchestra across 4 languages, under extreme pressure, with everything on the line. One mistake, and it all collapsed. This was the PhD thesis he never got to finish. Language as economic bridge, being performed live, under fire. Suddenly, Dr. Schneider stopped mid-sentence. His expression hardened even further. He said in clipped German, "Stop! I don't think you're understanding the complexity of what I'm asking here." The room froze. Everyone sensed complete failure approaching fast. Lucas took a deep breath, steadied himself. Then he spoke in German. His voice was calm but forceful and confident. Dr. Schneider, with all due respect, I understand perfectly. You're not just asking about technical compliance checkboxes. You're asking whether these partners truly understand that European regulations exist because we've learned through painful history what happens when data and power go unregulated. You're asking if we take responsibility seriously as human beings, or if we see compliance as mere paperwork to file away. Dr. Schneider leaned forward toward his camera. Actually listening now. Lucas continued in fluent German. I'm going to answer in a way that translates across all 4 cultures represented in this room. The Japanese concept of sekkinen, responsibility that goes far beyond legal obligation. The Arabic concept of amana, sacred trust that cannot be broken. The French engagement, commitment that binds personal honor. And the American principle of accountability. We're not just complying with your regulations, Dr. Schneider. We're committing to the values behind them. Dr. Schneider slowly took off his glasses. His entire expression had changed completely. Where did you study? He asked in German, his voice softer. You speak like an academic, not a businessman. I was an academic, Lucas said honestly. Georgetown University, linguistics. I had to leave before completing my PhD. Why did you leave? To take care of my mother when she got cancer. A long pause. Dr. Schneider's entire demeanor softened visibly. My son is at Heidelberg University studying linguistics, he said in German. He wants to quit to make money in technology. I keep telling him the world needs bridge builders more than it needs another app. Today, you've just shown me I'm absolutely right. Another pause. The room held its breath. I approve the compliance framework, Dr. Schneider said clearly. Send the final documents to my office. Approved. He nodded specifically and directly to Lucas before ending the video call. The room exploded. Al-Mansur stood up immediately, applauding loudly. Yamamoto bowed deeply and repeatedly toward Lucas. Pierre shouted in French, Incroyable! Absolutely incredible! Victoria had both hands covering her face, completely overwhelmed with relief. Thomas walked over to Lucas, firm handshake that became a brief hug. He whispered in Lucas's ear, You didn't just save a deal. You showed everyone in this room what's actually possible. Lucas sat down in the nearest chair. His hands were shaking now that it was finally over, the adrenaline draining away. He reached into his pocket, touched his mother's worn notebook, closed his eyes briefly. In 4 hours, Lucas Turner had gone from completely invisible to absolutely indispensable. But the real transformation wasn't his at all. It was everyone else's ability to finally see him. 4 o'clock, the grand ballroom, official signing ceremony. 40 people filled the room, all primary parties, global tech board members, business press, photographers, cameras. This was the public moment. Victoria stood at the podium. Today we're signing a historic partnership worth $1.1 billion, she began. This deal represents innovation, global cooperation, and economic growth. She paused. But I need to tell you how this actually happened. The room went quiet. This wasn't in the prepared remarks. This morning, I was prepared to lose everything, Victoria said. We had an insurmountable problem, and the solution was in the driver's seat of my car, where he'd been for 9 months, a man I'd never really seen. Cameras found Lucas at the back. He looked uncomfortable. Victoria continued. Lucas Turner nearly completed a PhD from Georgetown. He speaks 9 languages fluently. He understands cultural dynamics that saved this deal. But I didn't know, because I never asked. I saw his job title and assumed I knew everything. The weight settled over the room. Lucas, come up here, please. Lucas walked forward, nervous, humble. Every eye followed him. Victoria spoke in front of everyone. I'm offering you a position as Global Tech's Director of International Relations. Salary matching your skill and education. You'll build and lead a new division bridging cultural barriers. Thomas added specifics. 195,000 base, full platinum health benefits, 50,000 signing bonus for your debt, education fund to finish your PhD. Victoria handed Lucas something, an engraved leather business card holder. Lucas Turner, Director of International Relations, and a key card to the executive floor. Yamamoto stood. Global Tech's offer is generous, he said through Lucas's translation. But mine stands too. You have 2 worthy paths. Choose the one that honors your heart. Al-Mansour stood. In my tradition, when a man shows valor, we remember, he said. Lucas translated. Whatever you decide, you have a friend in Riyadh. Pierre stood. I'll recommend you to every EU firm I work with. Your skill set is rare. Your integrity rarer. A journalist asked, Mr. Turner, tell us your story. PhD to driver to director? Lucas spoke carefully. My story isn't unique. Millions work jobs that don't reflect their potential. Driving, cleaning, serving. We see titles, not talents. What made you speak up? I almost didn't. In service positions, people don't want to hear you might know more. It threatens the order. But today, stakes were bigger than discomfort. And I had people who listened. He glanced at Thomas. Yamamoto spoke. Lucas translated. Today, I learned American companies are understanding what Japanese culture knows. Every person has value. The question is whether leadership has wisdom to discover it. Victoria addressed the cameras. How many Lucases are in your organization? How many brilliant people are you overlooking? A board member stood. I propose the Turner Initiative, company-wide audit for underutilized talent, quarterly discovery conversations with all employees. Unanimous agreement. Lucas pulled out his worn notebook. My mother wrote in this. Use your gift. I thought I'd wasted it. Today I learned no gift is wasted. It waits for the right moment. He opened a page. This morning someone told me to keep my eyes on the road, not on my betters. But there are no betters. Just people. Some with opportunities, some without. Yet, silence. All parties signed. Cameras flashed. Handshakes. Personal thanks to Lucas. Victoria signed last. Handed Lucas the pen. Keep this. Remember what you made possible. The final image. Lucas with global leaders, mother's notebook in his pocket, his driver's jacket visible on a chair behind him. Old life, new life, transformation. I need to add the full second half of this section. Let me continue. The ceremony transitioned to refreshments and networking. But the real moments happened in the conversations after the cameras stopped rolling. Journalists surrounded Lucas. What do you want people to understand from today? One asked. Lucas thought carefully. That talent exists everywhere, in every position, every level, every background. The question isn't whether it's there. The question is whether we're willing to look for it. Another journalist asked, what was the hardest part? Speaking up, Lucas said honestly. Knowing I might be dismissed or mocked, knowing that stepping outside my defined role could cost me the job I needed. That's the reality for millions of people. They have skills and knowledge, but the risk of sharing them feels too high. A different journalist turned to Victoria. What changed for you today? Victoria paused, really considered the question. I saw someone I'd looked at every single day for 9 months, she said slowly. But I'd never actually seen him. I'd seen a uniform, a job title, a position in a hierarchy. I hadn't seen a human being with a complex story and remarkable skills and inherent value. She looked across the crowded room at Lucas. That's not just my personal failure, Victoria continued. That's a systemic failure in how we view people. How many other people am I not seeing right now? How many are all of us not seeing in our organizations and our lives? One of the Global Tech board members approached Lucas privately, away from the press. The Turner Initiative is real, she said. We're implementing it next quarter. Will you help us design it properly? Yes, Lucas said, but only if we make it genuine. Not a publicity stunt or checkbox exercise, real structural change. Agreed completely. That's exactly what we need. Yamamoto approached Lucas one more time before his departure. Have you thought more about my offer? He asked in Japanese. I have, Lucas replied in the same language. I'm deeply honored, truly, but I think I need to stay here and prove something first. Prove what? That real change is possible even in places that resist it, Lucas said. That's harder than starting fresh somewhere new, but maybe more important. Yamamoto smiled warmly. That is the answer of a true bridge builder. The offer remains open, always. They bowed to each other, deep respect between equals. As the ballroom gradually emptied, Thomas pulled Lucas aside one final time. You know what you actually did today? Thomas said. You didn't just save a business deal. You changed how people think about talent and worth and seeing each other. That's infinitely rarer than speaking 9 languages. Lucas looked around the empty ballroom, chairs being stacked, microphones being packed, the physical evidence of the day disappearing. I just used the gift my mother told me to use, he said quietly. No, Thomas said firmly. You used it to change people's minds, to challenge assumptions, to make people question how they see the world. That's completely different. Lucas pulled out his phone, took a photo of the empty ballroom, the podium where he'd stood, the place where his entire life had transformed in minutes. He sent it to his mother with a simple message. I used my gift today, Mama, just like you said. Her response came back within seconds. I always knew you would, baby. I never stopped believing. I'm so proud. Lucas stood alone in the ballroom for one more moment, still wearing the engraved business card holder Victoria had given him, still carrying his mother's worn notebook in his jacket pocket. 9 months ago, he'd walked into that underground parking garage as one version of himself. Today, he was walking out as someone completely different, not because he himself had actually changed, because everyone else had finally learned to see who he'd always been. 6 months later, Lucas's new office at Global Tech, executive floor, corner view, the city spread out below. The walls held maps with colored pins marking countries and projects. On his desk sat his mother's notebook, framed now, preserved. Use your gift visible in her handwriting. Also on the walls, a certificate from Georgetown University. PhD in linguistics, completed. He'd finished it part-time over 6 months, and airplane tickets on his desk. Tokyo, next month. Consulting work for Yamamoto Industries. Lucas had chosen Global Tech. Not because it paid the most. Yamamoto's offer had been higher. He chose it because Thomas had shown him something rare. A leader who actually changed systems, not just individuals. The impact was visible everywhere. A company meeting. Diverse employees at all levels presenting ideas to executives. No one judged solely by their title. The Turner Initiative in full operation. The results showed on screen. 52 employees promoted or repositioned based on discovered skills. Company retention up 34%. Employee satisfaction scores highest in the industry. Lucas addressed the room regularly now. Language isn't just words, he told them. It's a bridge between worlds. Everyone here has something valuable to translate. Code, creativity, culture, compassion. Our job is making sure those translations get heard. Meanwhile, Victoria had transformed. Scene, Victoria getting into a car, new driver at the wheel. She paused before entering. I don't think I ever asked. What did you do before this? The driver looked surprised. I was a nurse, 30 years, retired but needed part-time income. Would you be interested in consulting on our healthcare tech division? We're developing patient communication software. We need someone who actually understands patient experience. The driver was stunned. Really? Really? Let me connect you with our VP, and thank you for making me remember to ask. The lesson had taken root. The story went viral online. The driver who saved a billion-dollar deal became a headline everywhere. Companies nationwide started launching talent discovery initiatives. LinkedIn posts from CEOs acknowledging their own blind spots. Comment sections filled with similar stories. I see myself in this. I have 2 master's degrees and work retail. This happened to me. Someone finally asked what else I could do, changed everything. How many brilliant people are we wasting? Lucas's voice came in as narration over these moments. Here's what I want you to do, not tomorrow, today. Look around at the people you interact with, the person who makes your coffee, your driver, the person who cleans your office. Ask them one question. What else are you interested in or skilled at? Then actually listen to the answer. If you're a leader, audit your organization. How many people are underutilized? Create real pathways for hidden talent to surface, not as charity, as strategy. Your competition won't wait. If you're someone whose talents are hidden, speak up. Yes, it's risky. Yes, you might be dismissed. But staying silent guarantees nothing changes. Ever. The final initiative. Lucas and Thomas launched the Bridge Foundation, a nonprofit providing language training and career transition support for service workers, funded by a portion of the global tech deal. Already helped 200 people in 6 months. Website shown, thebridgefoundation.org, scholarships, job placement, corporate consulting on talent utilization. Final scene, Lucas visiting his mother. She's healthy now, gardening, laughing, the headscarf gone, hair growing back. Are you happy, baby? She asks. Lucas smiles. You know what, Mama? I finally understand what you meant. A gift isn't what you have, it's what you give. Final narration over image of the worn notebook. Your value isn't your title. It's who you are when someone finally asks. What hidden talent does someone around you have? Ask today. Like, comment, and share if this story moved you. Subscribe for more stories that challenge how we see each other.